Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Cory Lawrence. I'm one of the organizers of DC Startup Week. And I'm coming to you live here from WeWork in downtown Washington, DC. DC Startup Week is a year-round organization with our 5-day conference that happens every September, focusing on building the startup community. We want to give a quick shout out to our title sponsors Next, Insperity, Wiz, and Technology Rivers. Thank you for making this week possible. If you have any questions throughout the talk, please put an all caps question at the beginning of your chat so that we make sure not to miss any of your fantastic questions throughout this panel. We're so excited to have a great panel of speakers on making social impact essential to your business from day one. And I want to introduce our moderator, Vid Micevic, who is the Entrepreneur Support Manager at SeedSpot. So please join me in welcoming Vid and all of our panelists to the DC Startup Week stage.
All right, thank you so much, Cory, and we're super excited to be a part of DC Startup Week. So my name is Vid, I'm the Entrepreneur Support Manager at SeedSpot. So what that really means is I work with a lot of our alumni and getting them connected to investors, mentors, and the right expertise to keep them moving forward. And so a lot of the times when I work with all these thousands of entrepreneurs, is the big question I get at SeedSpot, since we're a super impact-driven company, is, how do I get revenue, but also focus on impact at the same time? It seems like a dichotomy sometimes, and a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling kind of balancing that. So that's kind of the whole origin behind this panel and the work we're going to focus on with the questions we're going to ask here. So I'm really excited for this rockstar panel that we have on the line here. So through SeedSpot, we're an accelerator and incubator for social impact entrepreneurs, and we do that by educating and empowering entrepreneurs. And one of our programs that we offer is the Impact Accelerator. And all of these founders came through the Impact Accelerator, and I had the pleasure to meet with all of them. So really, really excited to give them a brief introduction of what they're working on, what they're doing, and then we'll dive into some questions on my end. Sounds good. I'm gonna start with Adrienne for an introduction.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Adrienne Prentice, co-founder and CEO of MotherNation. So we are a Mothers First community that creates spaces both online and offline for moms to care for themselves and each other. The way we do that is through 2 products. The first is our MotherNation Circle. So this is our core offering, and we gather small groups of moms up to 8 based on their location, age of their children, and a shared experience, which could be anything from moms of multiples to queer families to moms with kids with special needs. We then train that group in the skills necessary to hold space for each other in their monthly meetings, and that can be supportive listening and empathy. And our other offering is our private online community. And here moms can connect with each other across the nation. And then we have nudges and tools to help them prioritize their own well-being. So both products are rooted in positive psychology, social work, cognitive behavioral therapy, and mindfulness to really push moms to grow both in their as people and parents.
Love it. Thank you so much for that, Adrienne. Keep up the great work supporting mothers out there. Victor, you're next. You're next on my screen. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Mute. Come on now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victor Ehienulo, and I'm the co-founder of Plug Technologies. So we are enabling companies to increase campus recruiting efficiencies at historical Black colleges by 40%. By doing this, we partner with universities, we offer them our software, and they utilize our software to connect their students, their recruiters, and the Career Center. By doing that, the students utilize the mobile app, and all they're doing is swiping left and swiping right on opportunities and events. So through that, they're able to see a wide range of opportunities without even having to search for it. Right now, we have a partnership with Howard University, and we're building on a product. So that's what we're doing.
Love it. Thanks so much, Victor, and keep up the great work, and congrats on the new launch out there. So I'm sure you'll share more about that. Audrey, go ahead next.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to get to join Adrienne and Victor and Vid and Lemaire. We're all part of SeedSpot together, and I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about how much that program really helped us. Of course, when we're answering questions, we're happy to answer questions about our SeedSpot experience too. My name is Audrey Henson. I founded the nonprofit College to Congress. Our mission is to make our government more diverse, more effective, and more inclusive. While at SeedSpot, we actually honed in on building a scalable technology platform that trains students, mentors them, and then automatically uses AI to place them into positions within our government. When I started College to Congress 4 years ago, we focused specifically on Congress, but now we've brought into all of public service. So both federal and state government, including government affairs. Fun fact, a lot of people don't think about this, but the US government is the largest employer in our nation. And so if we really want to see that needle moved when it comes to diversity and inclusion, we got to start at the top. So excited to get to chat with you all today.
Awesome, Audrey. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Lemaire.
Hey everyone, I'm Lemaire, co-founder and CTO of a startup called Goodfynd, where we help connect food trucks to hungry customers. And the way how we do that is we partner with our residential communities and corporate offices sometimes. Right now during the pandemic, it's primarily residential communities. And we dispatch food trucks out to their communities to serve their residents. And these food trucks use our ordering system as well so that they can accept orders online, and we kind of help them manage that inventory as they move about DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So that's what we currently do, and we're helping these food truck owners survive during this pandemic, keep their business alive, find new opportunities, and we hope to continue that and give them access to customers in a new way.
Thank you so much, Lemaire. And keep up the great work with all the food trucks out there. You got to visit. They're delicious. So without further ado, this next half hour, I'll be asking some questions about impact and how these ventures are tackling the impact and also making money at the same time, as well as we're going to have 20 minutes towards the end for question and answers. So be sure to ask any questions, put it in the chat so we can go ahead and get to that before the session ends. So without further ado, let me just go and check my first question. So how do you each define the impact you're creating? And has that changed since day one? We're going to go in the same order as last time. So Adrienne, you're first.
Okay. So before I get into the impact, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the problem MotherNation is trying to address, because I think that a lot of people know being a mom is hard, but there's some unique challenges in America. So there's 4 million babies born every year. 1.5 million of those babies are born to first-time mothers. So that works out to 4,000 new moms born every day. And in our culture, what they're born into is a culture that normalizes mothers as selfless martyrs. Everything becomes about the baby. In addition, in the US, we're the only developed nation that doesn't have mandated paid leave. And these two factors, no doubt, contribute to the 1 in 5 moms that experience a perinatal mood or anxiety disorder. So essentially, our lack of systemic supports are leaving moms to manage the transition and all the ongoing demands of motherhood by themselves. So MotherNation exists to help lift up these moms. So what we want to do and the impact we want to have is to be the community and the coach and the resource to mothers so that they can go ahead and confidently navigate motherhood free from guilt and overwhelm. And that thereby will improve maternal health and well-being. And then when mama's happy, everybody's happy, right? So like happy mom, happy home, happy employers, and they can be more productive. So that's the impact we're going for. Has it changed since day one? I think the short answer is no. MotherNation was founded based on my co-founder and my experience becoming mothers. So day one for us is when my daughter was born on December 2nd, 2016, and then Kate had her twins the next day. To set the stage, December 2016, a month after the presidential election and a month before the Women's March. So it's a ripe time for a motherhood movement. And that's kind of what we have grown to become, because Kate and I felt prepared in different ways for motherhood, but it hit us like a brick wall. So we are always trying to solve for this disconnect among moms and then the lack of systemic support at the same time. So it hasn't changed, but I'm gonna Vid, if you don't mind, just take another minute because the mission hasn't changed. Thank you. But the world has changed, right? So the impact we're trying to have is acute right now with the pandemic. So I think, like a lot of things, including racial injustice, the pandemic has shined a light on untenable situations. And for mothers, that includes the invisible mental load or emotional labor that we carry. And with the pandemic, that is much heavier with the childcare crisis and virtual learning. So it's impacting our careers. So moms are reducing work hours 4 to 5 times more than fathers. And it's also impacting our mental health. We hear about a lot of rage, in fact, as a symptom of mental health recently. So what was maybe just like required attention before during the pandemic has it's urgent care. So we're trying to get in front of as many moms as possible and give the resources and the coaching and the empowerment that we provide. But I also think this is a movement. So if everyone on the line now can just take a minute to think about the mothers in their life, especially any mothers with young children, and whether it's now or later, reflect how different they are as people in the last 6 months, right? Have you even heard from them? Do they seem more edgy? Are they ragey, right? And I won't belabor the point, but I want you to also consider whether the same is true for the men in their lives. And the things that I think everyone on this line can do, again, this is a movement, we're focused on our community, is I challenge you to ask those moms or one of them, call them, text them, write them, like in your tweener time today, after this panel, before you go to bed, and ask them how you can help. I bet most of them are gonna say, I'm fine, or there's nothing you can do, or whatever. And so then I want you to ask them again, because oftentimes mothers have trouble asking for what they need and articulate it, but they're struggling right now. So that's the impact MotherNation wants to have. But again, I'm just taking this time to implore you that that's an impact that you can have as well in your own life. Thanks.
Appreciate that, Adrienne. Yeah, I think about that all the time and constantly check in with my mom too. But I mean, everyone, just the neighbor across the street, for example, that just had a kid, right? Like, how can you support, but also be respectful at the same time? So appreciate you sharing that, Adrienne. Victor, tell us more about how you define impact and has it changed since day one?
I'm doing it again. I got you. No, thank you. So since day one, I'll try to make it as brief as I can. So since day one, we founded Plug to empower international students in America that may need work, right? That was the core, of Plug, right? That's how we founded the company, because we saw that international students, like, they couldn't get opportunities because they didn't have the right visa status, right? And companies weren't sponsoring. But then we took a step back and we were like, you know what, international students are not the only one facing this problem, right? The problem is at the core root, which is African Americans, right? Because African Americans remain underrepresented in the STEM field, in whatever industries that you want to name it, right? So we took a step back and we said, how can we impact, how can we actually address this need, but from the root cause? And that's when we started to look into universities, right? And when we started to measure like our impact and how we're defining it, we looked at like company investment dollars into the pipeline, right? Because a lot of companies, diversity is a buzzword now, right? And companies are saying they're doing diversity, but are they really investing into the pipeline? We look at job placement rates, right? We look at increased opportunities for the diverse talent pool. And then we look at the opportunity to student ratio. So we have like those things are KPIs that we measure. But like from the core, we also look at increase in soft skills and hard skills training that companies are offering. So that's how we're currently measuring some of the impact, right? As we work with the universities, we ensure that these companies are actually investing in the university and they're not going in just to cherry pick. So that's how we're measuring it currently.
Love it. Thanks so much, Victor. Audrey.
So inspiring getting to hear how you guys have evolved. It's been a while since our Seed Spot crew came together, so it's fun hearing that update. You know, when I think about College to Congress and our journey the last 4 years, I think the biggest difference from day one to today was creating a way to scale and then proving that it worked. So I mentioned earlier, while we were at SeedSpot, we created an online platform that took all the services that we were doing as a nonprofit. And, you know, like most nonprofits, we were heavy on volunteers, heavy on man hours, heavy on that one-to-one teaching and mentoring, and learned how to automate it and learned how to do that while still keeping that human element. Because so much of what we're doing is confidence building, it's soft skill training. So you kind of have to like find this magic of both tech and scaling, but also ensuring that you're still relationship building. And so I think the biggest difference is that in and of itself, creating college to congress university.org and really making sure that we had a product out there that could help us go from training and placing 20 students a year into Congress to, you know, training thousands of students, which is what we're on track right now. We have about 600 people on our platform already. So it's about 100 students a month that are being added to that. And really just seeing where that's going to take us.
Thanks, Audrey. Yeah, I think that's so true. And I love the scale you've been having, especially during your online program. I know you're going to talk about that later. Lemaire.
Yeah, so for us at Goodfynd, you know, we started this because we noticed some inefficiencies in the food truck industry where customers were having a hard time. They were spending a lot of time in line waiting at food trucks, and food truck owners were spending a lot of time interacting with their customers versus serving their food. So, you know, we saw a way that we can kind of solve some of these problems through technology. So, you know, we spoke with some of the food truck owners, and, you know, as we learned more about the industry, you know, most people know restaurants are one of the toughest industries for business owners. And then for food trucks, it gets even tougher because, you know, of regulations and then just limitations of being a truck and the limited capacity that they can carry. So many of our food truck owners start into this industry as like an entry point, a lower barrier of entry to eventually get to that brick and mortar restaurant. So, you know, part of our goal when starting Goodfynd is to help accelerate these small business owners to get to that next level in their business, which is that brick and mortar restaurant. So, and you know, we're definitely doing that. We're giving them an opportunity to spend more time on what their actual expertise is, which is cooking food and serving their customer, and not have to worry much about finding opportunities and marketing their business and finding new customers. Our technology can help do a lot of that for them. And then one other interesting thing that we've been able to find during the pandemic is starting a donation program. You know, since we have a checkout experience, we're able to collect additional donations from our customers as they're ordering from these food trucks. And what we do with those donations is, you know, every time we collect a certain amount, we give that back to a food truck owner. They prepare a certain amount of meals and then we give that back to the community for free. So we're able to help kind of both sides in that way, and it all happens organically through the platform. So that's been great. So a couple of ways we measure that impact is, you know, how many food truck owners are on our platform? Are their margins getting better? Are we introducing them to more customers, giving them more opportunities to serve their food? And then on the meal side, you know, how many meals are we able to give back to the community for free and by the community? So, and then one thing I want to add is we also partnered with DC Startup Week and We Live, and we're going to have two of those food truck owners out there this Friday. So, you know, anyone who's local in Arlington can go out and support a couple of those small business owners.
Love that, Lemaire. Quick question, Lemaire. With that Goodfynd Gives, that donation program, how many meals have you given out?
What is it? I think it's somewhere between 800 and 1,000 or more at this point. So, and I think we did about 3 different initiatives so far, and we're about to start a new one this week with this drive-in movie experience that we're helping facilitate food trucks for.
Love, love, love it. Awesome, awesome. Now let's sort of transition to a little bit more tangible sort of tools that you use, or more set like the actual impact. So you saw Lemaire talk about, the questions, how many food truck providers do they have on their platform, how many donations they receive. So I'm curious to the other founders here on the panel, what questions do you ask, and how do you gather that data to ensure that you're making impact? And anyone can pop up with any sort of answer there.
I can start off if you ladies don't mind. So for us, we actually have regular calls with companies and chief diversity officers at different companies, and as well as recruiters, right? Because by having this dialogue, and we have like weekly dialogue with them, we want to really understand how they recruit, like the fall semester, how they recruit university students, how they recruit diverse talent, who do they report to, like is diversity at the core of the HR, or is the HR behind diversity? Like how exactly is that structure, right? So we start off with that. And then we also start off by asking, like, do you guys actually like sponsor university programs, right? What programs do you sponsor? Like, how are you doing this training? Like what platforms are you using to schedule these events? And then you get in your return on investment. And then we go back to like, internship opportunities. What exactly do you have, like, are you offering to the students, right? So by doing that, we take a step back and we assess what they're doing on campus, right, at different universities, and then we can basically like tell them and support them, right, and as well as the university. So in terms of like the best way to do it. So that's been our way so far. Like long term though, like we have been building AI, right? So with unstructured data, right? So we've been building a lot of machine learning with unstructured data. So long term, we plan on integrating the structured data we currently have with the unstructured data to actually just make it seamless. But that's all.
Love it. Does anyone else want to hop in there and share about different ways they're collecting their data and measuring that impact?
I think for us, when it comes to measuring impact, a lot of organizations that are similar to us, they look at success as how many people did we train. And while that's definitely an indicator of need, what I think is more important is what did they do afterwards? And so we know that at College to Congress, over 90% of our interns go on to work in public service. And that is really the intention of the program. And for me, that's really the only number that matters. All the other numbers are just truly things to show funders, things they get excited about because they've been trained to think that that matters. But all that matters is the number that proves you're hitting the mission.
Yep. Go ahead, Adrienne.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a little bit similar to Victor. We rely a lot more on qualitative data versus quantitative. So how's the mom feel, right? We do send out surveys that are like net promoter scores after every circle. So our data around the referral is huge because to us, we're building community, and that's working if other moms are sharing MotherNation with other moms. So that's fantastic. But one thing that I'm excited about, we're working on, we're not there yet, is kind of like a before and after survey that gets a little bit deeper into the mental health and well-being of a mother, using gamification and a web application that can detect facial recognition in voice intonation. So moms, people are smart, and you can know how to game, like, how are you feeling? Great, right? But if you say great versus fine, great, it's a totally different vibe. So we've partnered with another company that's going to help us use AI, like Victor mentioned, to really bring data to the qualitative narrative answers we're getting today.
Love that. And it looks like we're transitioning pretty nicely to like tools and tips, right? Whether it be before and after surveys, what other aspects and tips do you have for other founders when they're measuring their own impact?
I'm happy to jump in. So I want to put myself back into 4 years ago shoes, because it's easy to say a lot of things now that I think 4 years ago would have been tough. So at the beginning, I think you got to experiment with a lot of different, trackers to success. So you got to test, for us, it was testing, is is our theory of change even viable? So if it's so easy to make the government more diverse just by going to HBCUs and community colleges, recruiting those students, training them, and then placing them, why hasn't that been done before? So really taking that big theory of change, splitting it up into a lot of small sections, and just really looking at it with a fine-tooth comb and making sure you're spending that first year, however long it is for you. I think for us, it was about the first year and a half, maybe even 2 years, of really testing different ways to go about training, different ways to go about placement. And just like Adrienne mentions, then you have sometimes like the quantitative data can be really difficult. So are students comfortable? Did they feel like they belonged in their office? How do we know that? So working one-on-one with our partner offices to, yes, survey them, but also do intro, mid, and exit interviews. And it takes a lot more time, but it's time well spent on the front end. So by year 3, year 4, it's all automated, right? And you can just keep going and scaling.
Yeah, I guess I could add to that. For us, when we're thinking about our business model, one of the problems in this industry when pairing these guys with online ordering is like the commission that's typically taken when they're accepting orders online. So when we're thinking about our business model, we're always thinking about the food truck owner as well, and kind of structuring that in a way that, you know, both sides can benefit. And that benefit kind of matches the value that they're getting out of the system. So, you know, and the main way to get that is by talking to the customers. So we're constantly speaking to our food truck owners, their customers, and then also the organizations requesting their services and figuring out, you know, kind of talking to them about what we're providing, what they would like us to provide, and, you know, just always make sure that commission that we're taking from them, you know, they're realizing that in profit for their business. So that's kind of the core of how we strategize with our commission model.
Adrienne, go ahead if you have something to add there.
I did. I might be getting ahead of us a little bit, Vid, but it's not with respect to measurement, but just generally maintaining focus on social mission. And there's, you know, in thinking about this panel, I was thinking about, you know, how do we actually do that, right? It's pretty hard when you need to pay the bills as well. But 2 kind of frameworks or tools I find really useful. One is a sports analogy, which I'm really generally not a fan of sports analogies, but this one works. And it is, will it make the boat go faster? So the British rowing team won the 2000 Sydney Olympics, and that was their mantra for the year in their training. Like everything they did involved that simple question, like, are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? Will it make the boat go faster? And in a way, it's kind of liberating. And then you can, you know, so for us, it is, you know, is this going to get us bigger impact? Is this, you know, aligned with our mission? For them, it was, do I do 60 more minutes on the rowing machine? Is it going to make the boat go faster? Yeah, get back on that rowing machine. Like, do you go to the pub? This is the example again. Do we go to the pub after practice? Is it going to make the boat go faster? Nope. Skip the pub, right? So like for us, it's like just a good focus point. Immediately before founding MotherNation, I was a leadership coach for working parents. And in the approach that I took, it was a lot of uncovering your values and making sure what you do at work and at home are aligned to your values. So it's a similar exercise. Like, what's your impact? What are the values you're gonna like live by to get to that impact? And then everything you do, from the content you provide, has to go through that lens. So examples for us, one of our values is embrace our diversity, racial diversity, but also diversity of parenting styles and everything else. So next month we're planning for our content theme is relationships. Well, we're not going to just focus on partner relationships because we have single mamas in the group, right? We're not only going to talk about breastfeeding because there's mothers in the community who didn't breastfeed for whatever reason. So it makes it actually just like makes decision making a little easier when you're always rooted in what your impact is and your values and how you're going to get there. And and we all need more time. So the more efficient we can be at making decisions, the better. So that's just like a little framework we use.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just working with the founders I work with, I mean, that's the first piece of advice I give to everyone is focus, focus, focus. And the best way to focus is write down that main goal you have, that main principle, and then take it from there, right? And then adjust, does this partnership, does this revenue stream, does it make sense? Am I moving the needle on that one main goal? And how are you going to measure you tackling that goal? Be very specific, keep it one, right? And then go from there. So definitely think you're onto something there, Adrienne, for sure. And I just wanted to also open the floor here. I mean, sometimes we get pulled in different directions, right? I was just chatting about revenue streams versus impact. And sometimes investors are just looking at, how much money you're getting in the door, but you're just also want to be an impactful organization, and you feel like you're pulled in two different ways. Does everyone on this panel feel like that, that you're pulled in different ways, or based on your mission, you feel even more aligned because you can now vet investors better or vet your customers better because you have those principles? So is it more of a dichotomy, like, you're separated like revenue and impact, or is it more together where you make more efficient decisions? Just anyone can hop in on that one.
I'll hop in. I would say it's more together, but there are times where we felt like, wow, we could be doing this right now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we actually license to the universities, right? So we can go the other route and charge the companies, right, or whatever it is within the companies. But we're trying to actually, empower the university to gain more revenue stream. So that's the reason why we partner with the universities. So when you think about that from an impact-driven basis, the university is creating revenue and they're using that revenue for scholarship opportunities to the students, right, at historical Black colleges and universities, right? And that is huge because now students like African Americans who, may not graduate because they can't pay the tuition, now they have scholarships, right? That's coming from this new fund that, they may not know where it's coming from, but, we know where it's coming from. It's because of the investment that the companies are having in these universities. So we've tackled this, and there's been, we've had several dialogues, and there's been different ways that we plan on just really gaining profit, right? But right now we really just want to focus on the core value of what makes us us.
Love that. And now I'm gonna transition. It looks like, with having a mission, it's kind of easier to make those decisions, but also hard at the same time. Where do you think now COVID's hitting? What I've seen, at least on my desk with what's happening in impact investing, it's scaling like crazy. A lot of people are seeing kind of, the results of when we don't take care of humanity, kind of what happens. And so there's, at least what I see is there's growth in impact investing happening, especially in the sustainability world, because that's kind of a big problem down the line that's coming. So I'm curious to everyone on the panel, where do you see impact investing in the future?
I can speak to where we're seeing it, when it comes to college students, low-income students, and then the government world. So a lot of the big funders who, they really drive the initiatives for everyone whenever they come out. Like when the Ford Foundation says we're changing all of our pillars and 3 of them have to do with diversity and inclusion. So in thinking of, those type of big players in the world, they're really worried about the amount of students not going to school right now, not even just in college, also in high school. What's going to happen with that? And we just spent, as a country, the last 20, 30 years trying to close the achievement gap. And are we allowing it to happen again? What we're seeing at College to Congress is a lot of our low-income students are being told oh, just take this year off, do a gap year. And it literally drives me crazy because a gap year doesn't exist for people that either go to school and they get funding that way or work full time. You don't just get to leave school and go work on a passion project for the next year. And so a lot of the conversations I'm having are kind of geared towards fixing those 2 things, ensuring that one, our middle and low income families aren't getting pushed down so far to where it's going to take them another 10 to 15 years to come back up. And then 2, what is happening to the young people in those families? Are they ever going to come back to college? Bill and Melinda Gates just released a study a month ago saying that over 40% of students are not going to college this semester and are not planning on coming back. So what are they going to be doing? Are they going to technical school? Are they just going to become entrepreneurs and try to create businesses, get jobs? Obviously, I know what I want to do. I want to harness their talent and their passion and help them go work in the federal government. But that's kind of the dichotomy of what we're seeing right now because of COVID.
Love it. Thanks, Audrey.
I want to add to that. If you guys, I want to add to that. So, like in Vid, you mentioned, sustainability, right? Climate change, all that good stuff, right? So healthcare, clearly, and edtech, right? Education, technology platforms. So what Audrey just pointed out, in terms of like taking that gap year, what we're saying is like a lot of companies are taking their offers back, right? They're no longer hiring, right? So there's a pause in hiring right now. And that's just because a lot of these companies, they don't know what's happening next, right? They don't know if they'll be able to survive like the next year or so, right? That's what we're seeing, right? But we've also seen like a growth of companies from an impact investment perspective, growth of companies that are really interested in diversity and inclusion, just because of what's happening currently in today's with the Black Lives Matter and all that. So we've seen a lot of companies that's saying, hey, we're interested, but then again, like we take a step back and we're like, look, we have to vet you out because like most of this time you're just saying it just to say it, just so you can go along with the ride. So from impact investment, like I strongly do believe that like there are like companies out there and like there's a lot of money flowing into edtech, educational technology platforms, as well as clearly healthcare, right? Yes.
Thanks, Victor. In my personal experience, I think it's actually getting a little easier to tell our story. So before, when I would pitch a bunch of old white men about the importance of community amongst mothers, it didn't resonate with them. I won't even, like put any malintent around it, right? Like my story didn't resonate with them. But moms are starting to get a lot louder in this crisis, and there's a lot of storytelling around it, or those investors are seeing it play out in their friends and family in their own house or otherwise. So there is a little bit more connection and that I can make when I'm pitching investors that is helpful on the impact investor. I'll also mention like another kind of around the systemic support is we have lobbying partners and advocacy partners, and our partner this year is Plus. Their mission from a couple of years ago was to get paid leave for every single American by 2022. It's always been it. Very simple. Talk about focus, right? So we partner with them, and they have seen a lot of improvement in attention to that legislative issue as well, because again, everyone's kind of feeling it in a new and different way.
Love that. Well, just one last round. We're going to wrap up my questions, and then we'll get to the questions of anyone in the room here. Make sure while we wrap this up to ask any questions in the discussion session. But just what are you looking forward to next as the company? What impact you're looking forward to? Any events we should know about that everyone's hosting? So I'll go ahead and start with Audrey.
When it comes to events, we actually just did our big event. That's why I started giggling. I was like, too bad I didn't get to do this with you guys a month ago. We're really just focusing in on keeping our community alive. So just yesterday, I met with our board and our corporate leadership council. And it was kind of nice because, I think a lot of meetings right now are incredibly structured because we've booked ourselves minute to minute since we don't have to travel. And we all just kind of relaxed together and said, we miss this. We miss creating together. You do miss out on collaboration when you're behind a Zoom screen. And so our events at College to Congress are going to really just turn into monthly brainstorming sessions. So as we continue to figure out, how to break into agencies, government agencies, both on the federal and state level. There are so many people in and around our network who do this in their day-to-day jobs. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Instead, I want to create an environment where we can bring these experts together and create listening sessions. And if anyone's interested in doing that, or really just seeing how we go about doing that, I'd encourage you to sign up for our newsletters. Go to college2tocongress.org. Start following us. These are going to be open invitations, so we'd love to get to share it with you.
All right, and we'll just keep going around as a panel. Lemaire, go ahead.
For us, what's next is, just continuing to help these food truck owners. I think the next biggest challenge for us is going to be keeping them going throughout the winter. So, we're constantly searching for new opportunities for them and just trying to educate the local public about how they operate, what their needs are. And many of these communities are more than willing to help. And everyone has loved the food truck experience, being able to kind of get less of the kind of traditional food, more cultural food around their neighborhoods in most cases, and just tons of different cuisines. So, that's been great. And we just look to really, continue that. And for anyone who's listening in, if you have an apartment community, HOA, or even your job, if enough people is there and you want to get food trucks out, definitely contact us. And, we'd be happy to help with that. It's a free and easy process. And, we're just looking to get as many trucks out as possible.
Love it. Keep it up. And they have some great, they're doing a food truck with that outdoor movie theater coming up. So huge for you. So keep it up, Lemaire. Victor.
For us, so we just did our launch recently. We've been doing a lot of research, and we've had to actually postpone some of the launches that we've scheduled just because of COVID. So we just did it recently. So we've been extremely busy. Quite honestly, extremely busy. However, we haven't even made our splash yet, right? And I think this is very important because for us, what we're looking to do is very important, and we're looking to go into the predominant white institutions, right? Because we understand that there are African Americans, Black and brown folks at predominant white institutions that don't have opportunities, or they don't know where the opportunities are. Because when recruiters go to universities, they don't technically go to PWI to recruit diverse talent, right? The automatic thought is hey, I want to go to HBCU. Let me go to Howard. Let me go to Spelman. Let me go one of this HBCUs. So they don't go to his PWI. So what we're working on right now is we're doing a lot of discovery, with several different PWIs, just trying to understand their business model, right? Before we actually come in and say, hey, this is how you can leverage our platform to execute and empower your diverse talent, your students, to get opportunities they may not be aware of. So that's so that's where we're currently working on is, we have the launch, we have a lot going on, and then that as well. So as we look towards growing.
Love it. Last but not least.
Yeah, I think big picture, similarly, we're looking to explore a different go-to-market strategy. So right now, MotherNation is very much direct to the mama. I say it's our go-to-mama strategy, right? Which is working, and it's fabulous. But I think where we want to be is within the healthcare field. So we consider ourselves healthcare adjacent because our impact is to improve the maternal health and well-being. So we want to partner with healthcare providers, telehealth apps, that we are part of that social support plan for every single mother. And I think from there, it's allowing healthcare providers to have a more holistic plan of support for their patients. And then it's allowing us to be there and get in front of moms. So that's our big picture and what we're working towards, and feels like a win-win really for everybody, especially insurance companies who foot the bill of any medical costs related to mental health. So that's our big plan. In the immediacy, somewhat related is we have a back-to-back events, October 7th and 8th, around mental health. And it's basically one's anxiety and one is depression in terms of what's normal pandemic anxiety, right? Like, isn't everybody anxious right now because what is this world we're living in even, right? And then same thing for depression the next night. And it's going to be identifying red flags that you can look for in yourself and each other, because lots of times it's hard to see it in yourself, so that everyone can get the support that they need. So would love for people to attend. You can check us out at mothernation.co right now and get on the mailing list, and you'll get all the details for the events.
Panelists, feel free to share those links in the discussion for sure. Moving forward, we're going to just switch to now questions and answers. So we got a question for everybody. I know there is so much uncertainty right now, but is there some thoughts or predictions on how impact orgs will evolve over the next few years? Any thoughts of, the future of impact entrepreneurship?
I'll give my thoughts based on what I wish I did differently. So I think the way it's going to evolve is you're going to have less for-profit and nonprofit and more B Corps. Because one, it helps with fundraising. Two, it allows you to have your own revenue stream so you can, continue to be successful down the road. And three, it just makes business sense. So there's like all of these benefits to being a for-profit, all of these benefits to being a nonprofit. And right now we've made B Corps almost too hard to become. The barrier to entry is incredibly great. That's why there's, I think, less than like 300 in the world. And the big ones are like Dannon. So they're companies that already existed that became B Corps. But I think you'll start to see more nonprofits. Like, we realized late that we had to figure out our own revenue stream. But if I were to create Call to Congress today, I would have made it a B Corp, and I think we'll see more of that.
I think Audrey answered that question for me.
Adrienne, hop in.
Yeah, I think just to bring it down like to a micro level, something that Audrey said College to Congress is already doing is being like more collaborative, like involving all your stakeholders in decision making. I think a lot more organizations are going towards that. And hey, maybe it's because of COVID, because everyone can jump on Zoom or whatnot, but it's this idea of like new power versus old power, right? Like new power is organizing changes and impacts on the ground with lots of different people contributing. They don't necessarily have to be the expert or the leader. And I think an old power is like your old bureaucracy and hierarchy and that kind of thing. So I think that this like concept of new power and collaboration and people feeling invested in the social impact organization's mission themselves, like personally, is just kind of a trend that I'm noticing as well.
Love that. And something I want to add here, and I think Audrey, you can relate, is I think impact orgs are not going to be based on location, right? You're going to be serving demographics, and there's no location barriers to the amount of impact you're making. So for example, at SeedSpot, we're totally becoming more virtual. And now instead of just focusing on certain locations, we're serving entrepreneurs around the world globally, just kind of leveraging that kind of education shift there and targeting different locations around the world. So I think that's just a huge sort of way I think impact orgs are going to pivot. They're going to become locationless. And so that makes, location barrier not a big barrier for their programs moving forward. All right, we have another question. This is particularly for Lemaire. How has your organization pivoted due to COVID, with the likelihood that food truck biz will not be back for another 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, so I think the primary thing we do is partnering with residential communities, since that's where most people are right now, working from home. Everyone is spending more time at home. And I think one of the beauties of the platform is that everyone still has to eat. Everyone is still ordering online. That market has taken off even more during the pandemic. So one great thing about us is we kind of give you that delivery feel, because a food truck is meeting you at your community, except you don't have to pay all of those additional fees that you would on like a, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or something like that. So you kind of get you know, that same experience and different food. So, you know, it's been new, and it's been kind of a teaching point for us for both the food truck side is learning about how to kind of interact with those guys, and then those guys are learning how the food truck industry works. And you know, it's been going really well, and I think opening up some new opportunities for these food trucks that's going to continue even post the pandemic. So they're going to be able to diversify their revenue even more. You know, hopefully soon they'll be able to go back to their original lunchtime positions where everyone is working, typically out in DC and whatnot. And then in the evenings, they'll still be able to go out to communities and serve people for dinner. So.
Love that. I really like the way you pivoted, Lemaire. You know, just because, you know, there might be people not be at the mall or at their offices, there's still demand for this food. So you're just meeting it where people have that demand, right? So you're just partnering with apartment complexes, for example, and that demand is still there, just a different location. So I love how you're transitioning that and making sure food truck business stay alive during this time. So keep it up. So any other last questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question live, just to make sure nothing goes unanswered. All right, I'm gonna give it a minute or two. If no other questions, I just want to give a huge round of applause for the panel here for taking their time out of their busy founder lives. I appreciate it so much. Your insights have been super helpful. Feel free to contact them. They're really accessible. Search them on LinkedIn. If you have any other questions, they're happy to help in any way possible, because the big thing is they're helping you make more impact, and that's what they care about, right? If you're an entrepreneur that's making impact, just go shoot them a question and they can answer anything they want. If you're also an entrepreneur that needs help with you know, the beginning stages, like how do I think of this mission, or how do I message my product effectively, SeedSpot has a bunch of programs for you moving forward as well. We have a 2-day launch camp, and those are coming up this week, every other week, and I'll share more about that link here. So if you go to seedspot.org/more, there will be a list of resources of programs to offer, but also some really cool impact canvas toolkits. So how do you really start on you know, developing that logic model? How do you make sure the impact is baked into your business model, right? So there's a bunch of cool tools in there, so you can use it and apply it there, because we just want to make sure you keep making impact as entrepreneurs. And like supporting all these entrepreneurs on this panel, just super, super proud of all the work you've been doing during COVID and pivoting and still kind of keeping the lights alive. I know it's been really, really stressful, but appreciate everyone's time, and we'll see you next time.
Great, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and support of the DC Startup Week community. We've got some more really great talks coming up right on the hour, so make sure you go into Attendify, take a look at the schedule for the rest of the day. One thing I want to mention, at 3 o'clock, we have Susan Tynan, the founder of FrameBridge, and Zuaria Scott Washington, the EVP of Expedia, who are going to be doing a great talk, a fireside chat. So that's one to highlight. And then as well, we're doing a disability entrepreneur pitch battle tonight as well. So take a look at the schedule, and thank you all for joining.